Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our session with Defense Logistics Land and Maritime. I will turn it over to Regina Core-Smith, who is your facilitator for the session.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this presentation from the Defense Logistics Agency. This morning, I'd like to introduce our two presenters. And then actually, before I get started, I wanted to direct you that we will be able to answer some questions during the workshop. So what I would ask for you to do is to use the Q&A chat box in order to answer your question or ask your questions, and then we will address them as they become available, and also, if time permitting, at the end of the presentation. And again, thank you again for joining us this morning. I would like to present Jamie Spangler, and she is a Defense Logistics Agency source approval request monitor and also a procurement analyst working under the competition advocate. In her role, Jamie works with companies to assist them in the source approval request process in conjunction with the value engineering department. And again, Jamie Spangler is also a Navy veteran that's been with the Defense Logistics Agency since 2016. I'd also like to introduce Jared Lillo, who is a retired Army veteran who has been with the DLA since 2019. Jared works for the Value Engineering Department as a value analyst and is the coordinator for the Replenishment Parts Purchase or Borrow program. Jared works with companies to assist them in their source approval requests on the tech quality side of that SAR approval process. So Jared utilizes the RPPOB program to assist companies with submitting reverse engineering SARs or source approval requests. Thank you both for presenting today. And today we'll be starting with Jamie Spangler.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here today with everybody. And let's go ahead and dive headfirst into what these alternate offer and source approval request processes look like for DLA Land and Maritime. Now, these processes are somewhat standard across DLA. There is an enterprise-wide DLA SAR guide. However, depending on who manages the NSN, there may be a little bit of differences. So aviation may have a little bit of differences as well as troop support, but for the most part, we're pretty standard. And if you have any questions, again, along the way, please ask them. And of course, we will always be happy to help you after this via email or set up conference calls, etc. Okay, so the very first thing we'll discuss is why we have the source approval request process. First of all, there are a lot of NSNs that we purchase, and again, Land and Maritime is mainly Class 9 manufactured spare parts, right? We're not necessarily doing every commodity here. We work mainly in spare parts. So what we're trying to do is increase competition for those items by getting additional sources that have the capability to manufacture the parts in through. Oh, I'm sorry. I just got a message that I skipped a slide. I had, and I think I fixed it. So I think I'm good now. Thank you, though, for sending me that message. So yes, we have the opportunity here to work with companies to try to increase our number of sources for items that require an approved manufacturer. Okay, the next slide. So there are two ways to look at this. One is the alternate offer route, and then, of course, the traditional source approval request route. In this case, we're still doing technical data packages for both. The difference is that the alternate offer is submitted during an active solicitation, when there is actually a solicitation out on dibs and we're buying it actively, and somebody sends in the package saying, hey, you know what? I can totally make this. I've submitted my offer and given you my tech data, and now I hope to be approved. We'll discuss more about this throughout the presentation, but the important thing to remember is that if you submit your SAR as an alternate offer, then most likely you won't be able to be eligible for that actual buy. Most likely the review process will take too long, and so hopefully you'll be ready and eligible as an approved source for the next time it comes up. But, it takes a minimum of 90 days, and we'll get into more of those details. I apologize. Here we go. The SAR process, or the SAR source approval request, is not actually different in the package of information that you're putting in, but we refer to it just as a SAR in this case because there would be no active solicitation. So a SAR can be submitted at any time. You don't have to wait for something to be solicited for you to put in an alternate offer and go that route. You are able to pursue source approval at any time. So let's talk about where you start. So the DLA SAR guide that I mentioned earlier was established in November 2022. So we just had our second birthday on this guidance, and it is very detailed and goes through all the sections that you need to have included in your technical data package, as well as all of that formatting and extra little admin stuff that needs to be included, including that it needs to be one single PDF document. We can't accept multiple documents, unfortunately. And it can't be password protected because these documents do change hands several times during the review process. So we are not able to pass on. They get lost and things come to a grinding halt, and we don't want that sort of thing to hold you up. So one thing that we need to consider are restrictions to the eligibility of items for source approval requests. First thing that's super important is that it cannot be a G or a T. Hi, Regina. I apologize if I'm breaking up. I'm holding closest or as close to my face as I could. You were breaking up for me earlier as well. It may be my government connection. I apologize, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. So for eligibility to do a source approval request on an item, that item must not be a G. Now, that is the AMSC that I'm speaking of, and what G means is that it's already full and open for everybody. As long as they are able to make or to manufacture an item to a drawing, then they are able to go ahead and bid, and you don't need to have special permission or approval to bid on those items. As well as T also has a different process. Those are QPL items, and they don't go through the same process as a SAR. So those two are not eligible as SARs. However, all the other letters are technically eligible. Some will be a lot more challenging because of availability of data. There's a lot of times where we don't have technical data, and that's why some of the letters, if you look up the definitions of these AMSCs, they do tell you we don't have data, or sometimes it's because specifically with like a D, no data was ever provided, purchased at all. So there are some ways that things can be a little bit harder, but these are the restrictions. Okay, so things to think about for your package are, of course, keeping in mind that you should use that SAR guide provided And we can send you that in an email super easily. It's also available on the DLA website. Specifically, I know it's on Land and Maritime's pages, but I believe that it's also on the DLA as a whole pages. Other things that sometimes get missed are the estimated unit price. This is not something we're going to hold you to until the end of time. Don't worry. We do understand that price is volatile to some extent and does tend to fluctuate in the time that we're living right now. So don't worry about what that price is. Just make sure you provide one. We're just kind of looking at it as for analysts, for analyzation kind of situation, where I'll look at it and kind of see, is this looking higher than we're normally buying? It seems like it's really, really far off, then maybe there's something that has better. And also, you're clearly identifying the actual manufacturer doing the manufacturing. There are occasions where there are third-party companies that help other companies do their SAR packages, and that's fine. You can definitely partner with other companies, especially if you're a distributor or a dealer and you work with an actual manufacturer. The actual manufacturer would not have to necessarily do the paperwork themselves, but they do have to have a cage, and you do have to clearly identify who is doing the manufacturing. I saw another comment that the voice isn't clear. I apologize. I'm doing the best I can. There's nothing I can actually change. Can everyone hear me? Okay, I'm just going to continue. Thank you. Okay, so first we're gonna discuss our categories now. There are 4 categories for submission of your source approval request. Category 1, my apologies, is actual items. So if you've made the part in the past, maybe you've made it for the OEM, but you've manufactured the part and it has been provided to the government, and you have made that exact item before, that is category 1. You're able to go through that category. Now, category 2 is using a similar part that you already manufacture and provide to the government as an example to compare and contrast manufacturing processes to prove your manufacturing capability. So if you make something that's super similar, but it wouldn't be the product you'd be using for this future part, you're not actually offering the similar part. What you're doing is using it as an example for your ability to manufacture the exact part we need. Okay, and then category 3 means, hey, you know what? I'm completely new to this, have not made anything super similar to this and provided it to the government. However, I have the capability, I can make this exact part, and I'm going to fully demonstrate those capabilities within my SAR. So you're not meeting the category 1 or category 2 criteria, but you do have the manufacturing capability, and that's where category 3 comes in. Category 4 is our newest category for source approval requests, and it is for reverse engineering parts. So if you've gone through RPPOB with Jared, and he will be discussing this with you very shortly, then this is the category that you're going to be submitting the source approval request packages under, and you're going to have to do a little bit of extra legwork to completely describe that reverse engineering process and include all of that technical data, including the drawings and manufacturing plans that you've created based on your reverse engineering. Okay, My apologies. Make sure. Okay, so our next slide here, we're talking about the technical data. So the things that are highlighted here are, of course, the key points, right? All of your data, specifically talking about your drawings and any other specs that are necessary to manufacture the product, please make sure they are legible and complete. Now, the thing I hear most often is, yes, but file size. Don't worry about file size because we have DoD Safe, and that is basically like a Dropbox, but a little more secure on the government side. So what we do is we just send you a link, and then you upload your file. You can actually upload multiple files at once. I think like 100 files at a time. Not that that happens typically, but it is possible. So we're not worried about file size. So go ahead and make sure that you're not making those copies of those drawings too small that they're not readable because of file size. So again, I'm just going to say file size again, just for fun. Don't worry about file size. We do have DoD Safe for you to submit your packages with. Other things that are super important are, of course, your certifications. If there are things like master tooling is not something that is necessarily common. So there's a good possibility that you're going to say that it's not applicable to the NSN that you're submitting on, and that's totally fine. But it is required that you address that. So it is known whether or not it's needed, and if it is needed, whether or not you do have the certification for it. Now, technical data rights, that is a non-negotiable. That is the one legal piece of the package. We always have to have the technical data rights certification because that is what tells us that you have the right legally to the technical data that you've provided in the package. And so make sure that's always in there, and it has to be signed by a company officer. Okay, those two things are super important. Okay, again, formatting is one of the things. There's an entire section in the SAR guide about format, so you can just go ahead and take a look at that. We can get you a copy super easy. One thing that's very important is that you try to keep the file size via email to 8 megabytes or less. And I know that sounds so small because we're used to sending much larger emails. But we use a shared mailbox for on the government side, the DSCC AO-SAR email address that you'd be sending your packages to. And it's really easy to bog those down. So if you send files larger than 8 megabytes, there's a great possibility that we may not be able to open it. So just instead, send us an email and request a DoD Safe link. I believe that DLA Aviation only accepts things via DoD Safe link. So at this time, I don't believe that they like to receive them via email. And if you send it via email, they'll still ask you to send it via DoD Safe. I believe. This is what I've been told. So just keep that in mind. And always keep a copy. Your source approval request document is not necessarily the final document that is approved. When you turn in the document, that's kind of your starting point. And then when throughout the process, you may be asked for more information by the ESA, our engineering support activities at the military services themselves. We also may have to ask you for more information before we even send it to them. So because more information is being received all the time, that initial document that you send in may not necessarily be inclusive of everything that is required for you to be able to manufacture it. So just keep that in mind. Keep copies of everything that you submit because we do not return those files. Okay, submission. If you are sending as an alternate offer with an active solicitation, I would recommend that you send it to the SAR mailbox there on the screen and just go ahead and copy the contracting officer instead of asking them to forward it on for you. One, it gives you a little bit more control. Two, I usually reply to those emails and say, hey, I got it, thanks, or whatever. And then also that way it's not going to get kind of lost in the contracting officer's email. They get a lot of emails and they're super busy. So what we would prefer is if you just go ahead and send it to the SAARMMM box every single time, even if you're just copying it, so I can grab that and get it processing for you as soon as I get it. For tracking, as if you have any questions about your SAR and the status that it may be in, just go ahead and send me an email and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Please keep in mind that the SAR process takes a minimum of 90 days. So once we send the 339, which is just the name of the document, don't worry about it, to the engineering services at the military services, we will have to give them 90 days for their review before we can start bugging them. That is just the rule. So in the first 90 days, we won't have much as far as status goes, but at day 91, you can start asking for sure. Hopefully, you'll already have received your response. If not, we usually get responses most often between that 90 and 120 day mark. Some of the things that we evaluate your technical data packages on are, of course, cost savings to the government. We're looking to see if it's going to save us any money, and that doesn't necessarily always come in the form of actual dollar value. Sometimes it does save us money in a way in order to get things faster. I know that sounds a little bit funny, but cost savings to the government is always a factor. The needs of the warfighter, is it something that we're actually buying or has it become obsolete? That is something we look at. Lead times and, of course, other things along the way. We do make an effort to try to break items out of a sole source situation if we can, because we would like to have competition, but many factors are evaluated. Of course, when the packages reach value engineering, which is our tech people here at DLA Land and Maritime that are technical analysts and will be looking at your entire package before sending it to the ESA, we want to make sure that everything that will need to be there is there. So we may ask you to send more information or revise your package before we actually send it on to the ESA. Sometimes more information is needed and it just is something that we keep in the back of our head, and then we try to... Yes, George, I do believe that the presentation is available to the participants. I did send an email with a copy in, and if you don't get it for some reason, you can email me and I will definitely make sure you get it. But anyway, yeah, sometimes additional technical data is required to make sure that everything is good to go. So if there are incomplete packages, if there's anything missing, then we'll just ask you for it. We'll try to get your package in the best shape possible up front before we actually send it on. Okay, notifications. Now, once the decision is made whether your SAR is approved or if it's rejected, we will notify you. So if it's approved, I will actually send you a letter on letterhead, and it shows you this NSN, this nomenclature, this cage, this part number is approved. And if there is a rejection, I will still send you an email, and I will also put the reasons for the rejection in that email, and I will answer any questions I can. If I can't answer them, if they're more technical, I'll make sure you are set up with the technical analysts that worked on your case, and you'll be able to work with them. Okay. Now, this is one thing that is very specific to DLA Land and Maritime, and I do not believe that this is adopted by all of the parts of DLA, so just keep that in mind. We do not guarantee an award. We cannot do that. That is not something that is ethical or legal. We can't make promises that we can't keep, right? So, Arshad, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. After each session, I don't know if they're sending them specifically session by session or if they'll be sending a bulk thing, but it looks like Joseph said everything's going to be posted to the events page, so you'll be able to get it there. My apologies. Okay, so while we can't guarantee that you're ever going to get any award, what we do is try to give you the best opportunity to do so. So, for instance, if the buyer that is buying that's I apologize. I got a little bit off there. Okay. The buyer that is working on the procurement for the NSN that you've become a new source on, potentially, they have the decision-making capability to split an award in a way that makes the best value to the government. So they can split an award to make sure that they give the new source a little bit of an opportunity. However, they don't have to. So what I can promise you is that we're going to do our absolute best to ensure that you're given the opportunity to compete for items that you're a new source on. And we're going to do that in several ways. If there's a current solicitation out and you were just approved, I'm going to ask them to cancel and re-solicit that solicitation to capture all the sources. So we're going to give you the best opportunity we can. We just can't necessarily guarantee awards. Also important to note is that awards of solicitations are not going to be delayed because a SAR package is in. So there are very few opportunities for there to be times where a solicitation stays open the entire time that your SAR is processing. Most often, we'll see that the one that is out when you submitted gets awarded, and then later you'll hopefully have an opportunity on the next time it's listed. Okay, and again, you don't have to wait for a solicitation in order to put in your source approval request. You can do that at any time. Awesome. This is my last slide. I'm just going to leave it here for a second for you to be able to take a screenshot or write anything down real quick if you'd like to. I just want to point out the SAR mailbox is that top mailbox there, and that is for DLA Land and Maritime. If you email that, I will get back to you as soon as I can. And yes, that is my actual smiling face there in the corner. So that's who you'll be talking to. And I'll get back to you as soon as possible. You can email that and I can send you the SAR guide. I can send you slides. I can send you whatever you need. Okay. And then, of course, that RPPOB email address, Jared will be talking to you here in a second. And that will lead you to Jared. Sometimes there are problems with that email. And it's not Jared's fault. It's just the server. So if you guys have any problems getting a hold of Jared through that email address, you can still email the SAR mailbox and I will work to get you connected to Jared. Okay. And of course, lastly, that small business email address for our small business office here at Land, at Land and Maritime. In general, small biz land, COLS for Columbus at DLA.mil. Our small business team is great. They work with companies and they have so much knowledge on how to get through some things. So if I can't help you, I may send you there. That's just a really good email address to keep handy. But I just want to say one more time, thank you for this opportunity to be here and discuss source approval requests with everybody. I'm going to turn things over to Jared. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. As Jamie said, I'm Jared Willow. I'm the person in charge of the RPPOB program here at DLA Land and Maritime. Next slide, please, Jamie. All right. So this basically just goes over the basic function of what we do with our RPPOB program. Our purpose, it's vendor-initiated reverse engineering efforts. It's designed to allow all the vendors to visually inspect parts, borrow parts. It's all going to be government-owned material, and the intent is to become an approved source through submitting the SAR packet through Jamie, as she laid everything out. There's not everything out there. You're good. You can move to the next one. Everything out there will not fall under the RPPOB scope. So just remember that. It gets frustrating, and if you get the opportunity to get these slides, keep them, because it'll keep you from bouncing a lot of questions off of me for things that I just can't help you with. This is basically why we have RPPOB. Up top there is all the legalities. I am not a lawyer by any shape, way, or means. So if you want to research it, you can go look at any of that or look into it. I really recommend you do. The benefits of RPPOB: great sole source, great competition. Always be out there looking for limited source items if you're looking for RPPOB. It reduces cost through competition and its potential for unlimited rights, technical data, and packaging. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are the methods of getting the parts from me. Direct purchase means you guys are going to buy the parts from me, and you're going to give me a check or electronically transfer me the funds through government pay. There's the bailment process, which still funds will be transferred. Bailment means I'm going to loan you the part. And when you're done with it, you have up between 9 months to a year to have this part, review it, and use it to reverse engineer it. And then after that year, as long as you turn it back to me in the same shape that you received it in, condition code A, which means new, unused, untainted, you will get your money back. Finally, you can view parts. If you're coming to DLA there in the Maritime, give me a couple weeks notice, a month notice. If there's certain things you want to look at, I can order them in. Just be aware there's certain things that I can't order in. If it's a whole cab for a Hemet wrecker or anything like that, I've had people ask for stuff like that. I cannot order a cab in for you guys to come in and look at it and do it. I would have to look at size. I would have to look at shipping. Same thing with the bailment. I kind of missed this. The borrowing. If it's electronic component and you're going to have to tear it apart or any way, shape, or form, normally electronic components I cannot let you borrow. You're going to have to buy it. So those are just some things to remember as we're going through this process. Next slide, please. Okay, what is not RPPOB? Like Jamie talked about, anything with drawings. Other than like with SARs, there is cases where you will have B SARs, AMS-CFD, source control drawings, SARs that do come through. It's not a lot that you have it. But for RPPOB, nothing of AMSC, BG, or T. So that means anything with drawings. The drawings are out there. If it's a B drawing, if you guys want to reverse engineer it, go work with the owner of the drawings, get the rights, and create a SAR package and send it forward. And Jamie and I will be more than willing and happy to work with you. If it's G, it's full and open. We're not looking for sources. As Jamie detailed that. Just make it through drawings. If you have the ability to do it, quote. Creates further competition for everybody. T, as she called out, QML, QPL. That's going to be a lot of spec standard type stuff, and you're going to have to really dig into that research and become an approved source to offer us those parts. And that's a whole different area. So we'll kind of go from there. I see a question here about packaging. Not sure if it's been covered, but does this packaging area require a company to be CMC certified? You have to elaborate on what CMC certified is for me to answer that question.
Sorry, Virginia. George, I'm not sure what CMMC is either. I know that you do need to JCP certified for most of the processes to make sure that you have access to data, things like that. But if you send us an email, we can definitely look into this. That's something that we've not been asked before. Apologize. Thank you very much for the question.
Okay, past all the drawings, some things that are not available. If the NSM has an annual demand buy of less than $10,000 a year, it is not worth your time or DLA's time trying to get you to jump through the hoops to become an approved source for something that we only say the ADV is $10,000, the parts are $5,000 each. That means we bought 2 of them a year. There's not much cheese in the game, just put it that way, to add another source and keep both sources happy and make that part of the deal. Let me see here. Steve Evans. What about material specs and certs? Who checks incoming material for compliance? You must include inspection reports. That would go back to your testing, and that'll all be called out in the drawing or the bid set when you go to quote. And when it comes to specs and certs, like if you're talking mill specs and stuff like that, all that's released and that's called out in the drawings. And TSAAMMM will go out there and evaluate it if it's called out for either be fat testing, PLT testing, any kind of testing or certifications that are called out. It'll all be called out in the bid set, and they will be addressed through the contract. So, CMC, Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certified. I have never heard of that, George. It might be coming to the DLA or through the government, but at this point in time, I really can't talk to that. I'd only be speaking of things that I have no knowledge of, and I don't ever like doing that. This is not for you to buy our material to compare it to other approved sources stock. And it's not for information, to find out information on other NSMs if this is a component to a bigger end item that you're trying to create or work or that's made to drawings. This is to become a source. So. Okay, Michael Moore. Is additive manufacturing parts acceptable replacement for cast and metal components? That would be a question that would be in line for our casting and forging team. If you would like to email me after this or Jamie, and I will get you in touch with our casting and forging team. We have one here. I don't know if they're part of this briefing, but I would definitely like to get you in contact with the guys here that do our casting. Next slide, please, Jamie. Oh, you're already there. Never mind. Okay. So I'm going to screen your cage. As I screen your cage, I am doing it to see if you're eligible. First, I got to make sure you're not debarred in any way, shape, or form. There are certain areas that we go look at. One, the SAMMMM registration. If you have SAMMMM registrations, make sure they're updated. D-List is going out there and removing you in 590 cages that their SAMMMM registration is expired. I've had this happen before too. If you're not already approved source, that's normally because your SAMMMM registration was expired. As Jamie called out, your JCP certifications, you have to have them to to view the drawings in the bid set. So just so you know, to get access to C folders and any of that in DIBs, you're going to have your JCP certification. As we talked, the ADV has to be greater than $10,000. We got to have stock on hand. If the email code is different than A or Q, you're going to have your DDTC registration, and you're going to have to provide it. Let me see here. I got a couple more questions I want to try to go over. Nope, Jamie answered Michael's question. I'll reach out to James Warren. I understand. Okay, thanks, Jamie, for answering that. Next slide, please. Okay, second screen. We're going to review for releasable technical data. If there's any data out there, I'm going to tell you. If I can release it, I'm going to release it to you through, at times, a dummy PR. If there's a PR out there, I can say, hey, go see if it's out there. At times, I think it's like 90 days now. At times, the drawing data falls off or is locked where you can't see it. If a bid sit out there or a request to sit out there for more than 90 days from the way I understand it now. So if you can't see the drawings, reach out to me and I will do a dummy PR and I will have it where you can see all the technical data that is releasable to you for reverse engineering. You're going to need to tell me if you want to proceed. There's two different types. There's two different ways to proceed. Your own risk, which means you're taking all the risk on. And if we do this and you create a SAR and any of the services engineers say, hey, we can't move forward, all your time and my time was for nothing. We can also reach out and get ESA concurrence, which for most things that are critical application items, which is about 90% of what we deal with, I recommend. Lets us know that, especially if there's more than one service attached to it, it lets us know that they're willing to move forward. It just makes everything, there's no feelings hurt. Your money and time isn't wasted because if the ESA messes us around after they told us they would approve a SAR and just say, hey, we don't, give me a lame response of, hey, we don't need a source right now. We have no back orders, no quality issues, which I get those responses at times. I'll be able to go back to them and say, hey, no, you said that you were willing to move forward with reverse engineering. So it gives me a way to fight. Next slide, please. Okay, this is an overview of our process, and these are the suggested days. Remember, I'm a one-man show doing this. I also am an analyst that reviews SARs, so this is a side thing that I'm doing. So as James said, if there's issues with my email box or I'm not getting back to you, it's because I'm working other things. I'm not trying to avoid you, but I get hammered with emails. I get hammered with emails about people trying to figure out how to even use C folders. I send them to a small business office. I really wish there was a better way to show people, especially in new young companies, how to use C folders and nibs. But I really don't use that. So just bear with me as trying to get you help and keep you established and using these systems so you can go out and bid and see the drawings and technical data. So screening process, maximum of 10 days. Second screening process, maximum of 10 days. Request for ESA concurrence, 30 days. I'm going to tell you, that's few and far between that they come back in 30 days. The engineers, the services ESAs have 90 days. And that 90-day window, they normally take all of it. So unless it's, if I get it before 30 days, I'm going to tell you they're going to tell us no. That's the only time they work on it quick, faster, in a hurry. After the ESA concurred, you're going to provide me the money after I send you a contract, and we have to have the item in stock for you and me to even agree to the contract or exchange money. And then at that point in time, once I receive the part from the depot, I will review it and I will ship it out to you. make sure your address is correct on the contract. Because if it's wrong, I've had this happen. We ship parts to places that they should not be going. Next slide, please. Okay, here's a place to identify projects. There's a list of ends available on the value management webpage. You can go out to divs and try to forecast things. That basically tells you, hey, yes, we bought 20 of these to have a greater than 10,000 ADV, and this is worth my time. You can go to Haystack. I really recommend Haystack. The only downside is it's pay to play. Just know if you go out there and use it, they're going to charge you to use it. You can go out there through Haystack and look for NSNs with sole source or limited source pages. Okay, if you know I make circuit cards, go out there and type in circuit cards and start looking for things that are limited sources, 1, 2 sources, and then go into divs and start looking to see how many awards there are for it. It's just some of the ways that I would recommend you guys to start digging into this to find things to reverse engineer to the RPPOB program. Okay. You can find your local APEC. Scroll down. I think this goes back to the CMMC process. All right, next slide, please, David. Okay, this is a list of the websites and emails to get with me. First is the RPPOB email. If you're not getting a hold of me, reach out to Jamie. I've been giving a lot of people my direct email because I've been having so much issues with parts request email. I did a help desk ticket. They said it was fixed, but it doesn't always seem to be fixed. But I'll have people reach out to Jamie and ask her why I haven't responded to them, and I'll scroll through my whole email box and I won't see your email. The next is you can go to the VE SARS. That's down here in VE. I think me and one other, maybe 2 other people have access to it. I go in there from time to time and try to clean things up when I have time. That's getting back to I'm a one-man show. Don't wearing 3 hats. SAR email, Jamie already talked about that. The small business email, and there's just links for value engineering where you can find some spreadsheets for maybe candidates, definitions for AMC, AMSC codes, and the JCP certification program at the bottom. I recommend you keep this slide because everybody asks me about JCP certification. They're a new company. The first thing I get is I want to buy this, and I'm like, I ask for certifications, and they're like, well, we're in the process. As soon as you get them, if it hasn't updated in our system yet, send them to me, and I'll sell you the parts. I have the approval from my boss. If you can send me your certs and your memo via email, I will sell you the parts. Next slide, please. This is how I want your email to look when you come into me. Your name, your company name, your page code, your phone number, your shipping address. I'm going to knock on my drum on that one. Make sure your address is right because you might not wind up with your parts if I don't have the right address. This turns into a headache for all parties involved. And finally, the NSN on the subject line of the email. If you want to add the part number, you can as well. Next slide, please. Here's another thing for our emails. Make sure you keep these. And if you're not getting what you think you need, as Jamie said, reach out to her. Me and Jamie work very well together. We will get what you need taken care of. It might not always be what you want to hear, but we'll give an answer for it. Next slide, please. At this point in time, I will take any questions that anybody has over RPPOB. Sorry I couldn't answer everybody's questions on the CMMC process. That's all new to me. Thank you for your
And
time.
just since we have a minute here at the end, I just wanted to mention again, addressing Michael's question about additive manufacturing. DLA recently did award its first additive manufacturing competitive contract. There was an article on it on the DLA website and in the news. So yes, we are working towards additive manufacturing, and I realize that um, additive and casting and forging, those are really good, kind of interchangeable to some point processes. So yes, I do hope that one day we will be able to say that additive manufactured parts are acceptable replacements for casting. At this point, we're working there. We're getting there. We hope so. We don't actually work many additive scenarios through the SAR process yet, but eventually I expect it to happen. So, yes, Michael, I think you said you already have a resource, James Warren, that you're going to reach out to. If you run into any issues, you can reach out to me and I'll hook you up with the team here at Land and Maritime that works with additive manufacturing. But other than that, thank you, Jared, for all of that. Is there a list of the awards granted in the past? If you go on Dibs, Angelica, you can look at awards that have been awarded. Santana, our emails have been in these presentations.
Yep, it'll be made available to participants once the presentations are posted. You'll be able to connect with Jamie and Jared. And it will also, in Jared's case, give you a reminder as to the format in which to send those communications.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Regina. And Jared, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'm good. I appreciate everybody's time. Thanks for putting up with us, all of our technical issues and ability to answer some questions.
Okay, and
absolutely. Thanks for inviting us. We really appreciate being here today and meeting all of you. And we look forward to working with you in the future.
all righty.
Regina.
Okay, no, thank you very much to you both. What I forgot to say, which wasn't something small, thank you both for your service, both of you serving in the armed forces. So we get the benefit of your courageousness, but also your knowledge of the warfighter. So thank you very much. I've been checking the chat box and I don't see any questions that you have not addressed. And again, you're encouraged after the fact, once we post the presentations, if you have any direct questions, to please forward them. And they will address them as soon as possible following the event. We thank everybody for joining us this morning and hope that you'll stay for the remainder of the day to take advantage of some more upcoming workshops that are happening today. So thank you all. And with that, Joseph.
We'll close out here. So our next section will begin promptly at 11:15. So see you all in a few minutes.
Thank you.